Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the Notary Babe Podcast. I am your host, Mary Roque, and we have a special guest today. Her name is Damaris Martinez, and she is the owner of I Seal, Deals, and Heal. She is the notary loan signing agent. Also does resume writing, immigration forms, and she has 13 years of experience. But today we're going to be talking about a very special topic, the topic that we've been concentrating on this season, which is trauma and entrepreneurship and mental health. The Mighty, welcome. Want to do a little quick hi introduction and
Thank
yeah,
you.
talk to us about you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Madi, for inviting me to to share such an important topic that's very close to my heart and on the Notary Babe podcast. So thank you very much. I'm excited to share my story. So my story is about anxiety, panic attacks, and depression that built up throughout many years of work during work. I used to work in law enforcement for a while, and I that's when I developed my anxiety and panic attacks. Believe it or not, I had a coworker who would bully me because
Oh,
this person was there a little bit longer than I was, and they started bullying me, and eventually they almost assaulted me at work.
wow.
I thank God that a coworker intervened, and nothing ended up happening. But that's where my anxiety and the panic started. It would get so bad that at times I would have to request to be excused to go to the restroom, and I would have to throw up because it was so
Wow.
bad. And there was days where my anxiety, I would have to call out sick, so it interfered with my job. There was times where I felt embarrassed, debilitated, hopeless, because I was like, I'm a strong woman. Why are these things happening to me?
Right.
Why is this person's way of acting getting to me?
Mhm.
Why,
Mhm.
why can't I control myself? Because that's another thing that sometimes we don't realize it and we want to control our emotions, but when it hits your psyche up here and it gets your nerves, I always say that nerves are very tricky. There's something that we think we're in control of, and next thing you know, you're not. I felt like I was
Right.
spiraling, like I was out of control, like I just didn't have a grip on my life at one point.
Wow.
And I didn't address the problem at that time because I just figured, well, I work in law enforcement. It's just the nature of the business, and it's just part of my daily thing that I have to be stressed out.
Right.
And eventually I ended up leaving because it was getting to a point where my health was very at a low point in my life. And I had to end up deciding to leave something that I was passionate about, which is helping people. And
Right.
that's
Right.
why this topic also is very um it's a
Sensitive.
heart to heart for me because I want to help people in some way,
Right.
shape, or form. Um, After I left the law enforcement department, I started working for corporate America, which is another big, industry. And I started doing very stellar. I started doing, getting promotions, getting recognized as employee of the month, employee of the year. They started me off as a trainer at one point too. I would walk into big rooms full of new employees, new hires, and I would have
Wow.
to talk to them about what the business was all about. COVID comes, and what happens? Everybody, all of us went through something at that point. I used to work in the office, so for me, it was a big culture shock trying to work from home and not knowing what to expect. So that brought on another set of anxiety and panic attacks to me as well. But
Wow.
even though when I was working in the office, though, there was many times where my supervisor would have to call the rescue on me because I would have anxiety and panic attacks that would creep up on me sometimes because I didn't know and I hadn't seen a therapist at that point. I didn't know what my trigger points were.
Okay.
So I finally decided, you know what, this is enough. My health comes first. And I started to seek out and reach for help. And that's when I started to see a therapist. And through the therapist, I started learning what my trigger points were. Now, these can be different for everybody. They're not always going to be the same for everyone.
Okay.
My trigger points and how to cope with them and how to deal with them. So after I did that, you know, I finally hit the brakes on anxiety and all these other symptoms. And I had to learn to become comfortable with the uncomfortable
Okay.
and put myself and my mental health first. I finally
Right.
started to seek help, like I said, by going to the therapist, and then during the whole thing of COVID is when I decided to open up I Seal Deals and Heals.
Okay.
So I started to do okay, but at one point it started to attack, the situation with my business as well, because I would finish my 9 to 5:30, and then I would try to do my own notary business after my 5:30 shift. At times, my anxiety was so bad that I had to decline jobs. You know, my hands would shake.
Wow.
At this point, I was on medication, and it's not for everybody, but I had to get onto medication at one point to try to calm my nerves and try to calm my anxiety. It was to a point where I had to take medication for anxiety twice a day.
Oh.
So it was,
Oh.
very, strong medication. However, what I wanted to let people know is that, um, a lot of people say that May is the month of mental health awareness. To me, no. Mental health awareness is every day, every month, every moment. There are so many people that are embarrassed, or they don't know where to seek or how to look for help. And I'm
Yeah.
begging people right now, if you're watching this and you're going through something, I'm not a licensed therapist or anything. However, if you feel that you need to reach out, DM me. And if you feel alone, that you feel you can't look for that research on your own, DM me and I will help you find that research that's going to help you as well. But I do want to point out four important things. Don't ignore
Okay.
what you feel. Your body has a way of telling you and your emotions that you're about to collapse physically and emotionally, which is what would happen to me. Two, learn to stop taking on more than you can handle, even if it means that you have to decline some jobs, like I had to do at one point. Three, Instagram is a robber of your peace. Yes, you heard me say that.
Wow.
I learned that likes and numbers aren't what it's all about on social media. It's not. I am my business. I am my face of my business. And if I can handle and you can see the way that I am, then I will have business forever. I don't have to have likes. So
Right. Right.
that's very important. So
Yeah.
even if it means not posting, take a break. You know, we're entitled to it. Take a break, do a staycation, do some reading, do something that you like. And four, put yourself first. The biggest lesson that I learned from all of this was going on is that I needed self care and self love. And I would do this in simple little forms. Like I said, I would treat myself to maybe a special cup of coffee, reading books, doing things like that. But if you feel alone or depressed, trust me, you're not. We're the big community, especially here on Notary Babe. We're a big community of brave, beautiful women that are here to help each other. And I know Mari is a big advocate on helping people. I'm here to help anyone if you want to. Like I said, I'm not there, a therapist or anything like that. But if you feel that you are alone or you can't find that help, reach out to me. I'm gonna help you. And
Yes.
it's
That's
not all in
awesome.
your head. It's not. A lot of
Mhm.
people also are ignorant, and we have to learn to ignore the ignorance in people that don't know what mental health is. So those are my tips, and that's my story. And I hope I've inspired and I can help someone.
Yes. No. Thank you, Damaris. That is very appreciated because not everybody has the courage to share their story, like you said, because maybe a shame or uncertain of what people might say. But no, yeah, I appreciate you for taking the time and sharing your struggles and how you overcame them, and that you took therapy. So that's admirable. And
Thank you.
many people don't want to take that step, or maybe financially they can't take that
They
step.
can't, or sometimes I just feel like I'm embarrassed. This is happening. This is something, because it is embarrassing. It is sometimes when you have a panic attack or an anxiety attack. Imagine when I was in the office, my coworkers were seeing this. It came to a point where I had to put a special code with my supervisor of I don't want the rest of my coworkers seeing the ambulance being called for me. So I would go
Wow.
out to a meeting room, and that's where the paramedics would come and see me. And then
Wow.
I would calm down, and then, I would just continue my business as if nothing would happen. But it took a good while because sometimes panic attacks can last a real long while. And not only that, but they are debilitating. They make you very weak.
Yes.
And it's hard to put yourself together and walk back into a room and be like, hey, I'm okay, nothing happened.
Yes.
But there are a few little tips that I wanted to share also. Most of us now have the iWatches, right?
Yes.
So on my iWatch, I use something that's called Breathe, which helps with
Okay.
panic attacks because it,
Wow.
it pulsates and it
Okay.
helps you focus on your breathing while you're going through a panic attack. That's one of my little tricks that I learned. And
Wow.
another thing that's on here, it's called mindfulness. I set it for 10 minutes a day
Okay.
where I just close my eyes. You can look at the little screen on your watch if you want to, but I just close my eyes and I kind of just take 10 minutes and I try to forget everything and just
Wow.
have a little me time in that 10 minutes, but
That's
it really helps you
awesome.
refresh.
I didn't know that. I had that setting before, and I would just do it because it was suggested. But now that you're saying that it's related and it helps, I'm definitely gonna put that feature back on.
Yeah.
But
What happens with panic attacks sometimes, which is most of the point that got to him, and depression, obviously. But what happens with panic attacks, the only way that I could describe it, it's you forget how to breathe. You feel like someone has punched you in your chest. And at that moment, you're panicking. Like, how do I breathe and how do I get myself out of this panic mode? And it's that flight to fight reaction, right? So sometimes though, we try to fight to breathe, but it doesn't happen. So I have to focus on my breathing. It's kind of like a breaker, a circuit breaker. So let's say when you're having that panic attack, it's like all these breakers are popping out of that circuit breaker and you're trying
wow,
to plug them back in one by one. And you're breathing. While you're breathing, you're plugging them back in. But at the same point, when you forget how to breathe, they start popping back out. So you're fighting with yourself. I got to put this breaker back in and I can't because, I'm kind of forgetting. So
yes,
these are little tools. Another thing that I learned from a nurse is to get a rubber band and you kind of flick that rubber band on here. And when you feel
yes.
that pain, it makes you forget. Those are
Oh, okay.
tricks that I've learned.
Oh, I see, I see. No, those are really good tips because that is a huge hurdle, a huge challenge.
It
You don't
is
know what's
when
going
it's
on,
going to happen.
especially. Hmm.
But that's
Yes,
why it's important for us to forget about work mode. Forget that. Sometimes I know it's important. I know we all have, desires, we have goals, but if you're a person that's going through this, you have to forget work. You have to think
yes.
about me.
Right,
Because
right, right.
if our mental health is not well, we're not well for our businesses, we're not
Hmm.
well for our families, for our
Hmm.
children, we're not
Yes,
well for anyone.
right.
So
Hmm.
there's things that we have to do, to take
Right.
care of it.
No, yes. And I completely agree because for me, it had to take learning that part that you're talking about in order for me to get to where I'm at. I got into the hustle culture. I had 9 streams of income. I was so proud of myself.
Yep.
And at the end, for what? It meant I had to take a long break from social media and I
Yep.
wasn't present. I wasn't there for what I had built, worked so hard for. I had to step back.
Right.
Um, so you're absolutely right. If this hasn't happened to you, you're someone that's listening and that is taking on that hustle and doesn't stop. It's going to eventually catch up to you. And
Hmm.
Damaris is saying very powerful, giving you very good information as to prevent you from getting there. So I appreciate you, Damaris,
Oh
for
no,
coming on here and sharing your tips.
I'm so thankful.
And
Again, this is something that's very close to my heart, and I found it's funny because we were supposed to record sooner, and remember it didn't happen, and it
yes,
came to the point where then you change the topic. And I'm like, I'm like, this is what I was meant to do. This is my time. This is what I want to share because I love to help people. So
wow,
I'm
no,
really
that's
glad to be a part of the Notary Podcast. Thank you so much for inviting
no,
me.
yes, yes. So everything, like they say, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
So we're here. The timing was right. And even today, We had little
Technical difficulties.
yes, I
Yep.
was running late, so it was meant to go out. It was definitely meant to go out, and there was a lot of things against us. But I'm really happy that we were able to finally get together, do it, and take care of what we need to take care of. And I do encourage everybody. The Maria's information is going to be linked down in the description below. So I encourage you to follow her. She has a beautiful soul. She's a great person
Thank
and
you.
a great a supporter of women. And just I just highly advise you to follow her. You won't regret it. And like she said, DM her. She will help you, guide you, and yes,
Yes,
if you
definitely.
don't know where to start, she will point you in the right direction. But thank you so much,
You're
Tamari. Thank you so
welcome.
much for
Thank you,
everything. And
Mari.
yes, yes, yes.
It's so
And
fun to have been able to get together with you again, at least if it's, at least on here, but so glad to see your face again. I'm very happy to have been
yes,
part of the podcast. Thank you so much.
yes, thank you, thank you. So with that in mind, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to be talking to a actual trauma therapist, and I'm excited for that. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. We are on Spotify and on Apple Podcast, also the YouTube channel. Everywhere on social media, we're on Notary Babe and NotaryBabe.com. So thank you so much, our special guest, Damaris, and
All right.
well, I'll talk to you on Instagram.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.